Hello Forza Racing Network, Mike Seddon here, also known as MS Custom Works, and this time around I'm going to be going through how to take a photo from scratch. Now we've come to this location in Castelletto here, near the old watchtower, and this is my 840 something horsepower Ford Mustang, which was seen in the Monsters at Night photograph. It's going to be the demo car for this tutorial. So as you can see, going into the settings, everything's at default, and while some people who have just started the game are quite happy with that, as it does give some desirable effects, for those of you who want to fiddle with it, we're going to have a go with that today. So straight away, because the car isn't moving, no shutter speed, we don't need it, and there we go. And what as well, we'll set the focus to 0, and the aperture can remain at 0 for now, and we'll basically just click on the rear brake light, just to bring the car into sort of semi-focus, right? So the first thing I like to do in situations like this is get my picture set up. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the vignette to 100 to see which style I'm using, and set it to the black bars on the top and bottom of the image. Once I've done that, I'm going to set it to about 30, just so they have minimal interference with the picture but are still somewhat semi-visible. Next thing I'm going to do is I like using quite a bit of colour in my pictures, so I'm going to bump that up to 60. But what I'm also going to do is put about 10 sepia on it. It gives a nice warm feel to the picture. I'm going to leave the brightness as it is, because I do not mess with that, as it does disturb the pictures, I find. But that's just me. And what I'm also going to do is start adjusting the contrast. I normally use between 62 and 65. You can see the shadows on the car getting a lot more intense. And I'm also going to bump the exposure up to about 58. Maybe 50, no, about 55. Actually, you know what, looking at it, I'm going to bring it down to 53. 52. Actually, I'm going to leave the exposure as it is in this one, because it does look quite nice. Obviously, depending on the light conditions of the photograph you're going to be taking, you can adjust this to your liking. Because the sun is behind us in this photograph, we're getting a nice reflection on the back of the car. And now we're going to go into determining a focal point. So for this one, I'm going to use the rear brake light. I'm going to zoom right in, focus the image using X, and bring my aperture up to about 50, maybe 60, and refocus, and then start the trippy process of lining the picture up with itself. As you can see, that's almost got it, and we'll be happy with that. So once you've got it almost perfect, once again hit X to refocus, and zoom out. And once again, remember, once you're positioning your picture for the final shot, don't use the left stick, as it will knock it out of focus. You can use everything like the right stick, you can zoom, you can roll, just don't use the left stick or adjust the height of the picture. Now with that done and positioned, I'm going to reduce the aperture to about 10 or 15, just to give me a nice soft blur. It's almost like using a 50mm prime lens on a camera, using it down to about an f-stop of about 1.8. It gives a nice creamy blur instead of a very sharp and blech effect. And that's it for this part of the tutorial. Happy snapping!